into my computer and getting ready to go to live. I do a little bit of cutting and pasting here.
Do that magic.
And hope that I get to it before 4:21. All right.
Oh, it even notices that it's going to be live streamed.
We are live.
Woohoo!
Thank you very much. Technology is my friend today. My name is Jodi James, and I am the Vice President of Florida Cannabis Action Network. And joining me today we both look like we're kind of in the green, is my good friend, Dave Murzin. Dave Murzin serves on the advisory board of Florida Cannabis Action Network. Thank you very much, Dave. But that is not his only claim to fame. Dave is a consultant at 850 Consulting and is also a consultant with, I'm going to get the name wrong. First Partners?
First Place Partners.
First Place Partners. Thank you very much. Today, we are going to be very grateful for anybody who will take a minute and pay attention to us. We're going to not talk so much about news as we do sometimes on the 20 at 420, but I want to talk about delegation meetings, because really delegation meetings is kind of news. I asked Dave to join us on today's segment, and we send our condolences to Josephine Canella Creel. She is my typical co-host. She is unable to join us. She is taking a bereavement day. So our condolences to Josephine's family. And Ethel Rowland is with her daughter today. So it's just me and Dave. But Dave is all we need. Dave, you were an elected official with the Florida House of Representatives.
A few years ago.
I beg your pardon?
A few years ago.
Yeah, but you have not left the process, because I've known you more than a few years, and you were working in the Senate when we met. And yet every year since then, I continue to see you in the Florida chambers. So I am an active voter, and I care about cannabis. Do I need to go to a delegation meeting?
I think everybody who is interested in a legislative issue needs to go to a delegation meeting. A delegation meeting is we'll first define it. A delegation, okay. Every county in Florida, 67 counties, okay. Every county has a delegation.
Okay.
They're made up of the House members and the senators who live in that particular county. So I live in Escambia County, and we have Representative Alex Andrade and Representative Michelle Salzman and Senator Broxton. So I have three.
Okay.
Next door we have Santa Rosa County, and that's Representative Jared Williamson and Representative Andrade and Senator Broxton. So in each county, that legislative delegation meets to hear from local governments and concerned citizens about issues. So they may have, in my neck of the woods, they're going to have the city of Pensacola. Hey, we need the state government to fund this. And they're going to have Escambia County. We need this road paved, and we need this done, this project. Okay. They're also going to have the American Cancer Society. Hey, when you're talking about healthcare funding, you need to talk about this. They may have developmental disabilities groups come in and say, we need to increase the funding. They may have healthcare, Florida Hospital Association, or one of the local hospitals come in and say, we need funding. So it's a great place not only to advocate and educate not only the legislative delegation that's there, but the other citizens, because the rooms are usually full of people. You know, you may have smaller delegations, you may have 10 or 12 people, but some of these big counties, I mean, you talk about Hillsborough or Duval or Miami-Dade or Palm Beach, there's going to be several hundred people in that room.
Right.
Granted, a lot of them are going to want something, but what an opportunity for the organization to educate not only those people up on the dais, but the people in the public. And so you got to keep that in mind when you're doing a presentation.
So it was funny, Brevard County is pretty big. And so we get a representative from Orange County because he represents a little piece of Brevard County. And we get a representative from Kissimmee because they represent a little part of Brevard County. And we get a senator from Indian River because they represent a little part. And now one of my representatives, every time I get up to speak, he just leaves the room. He doesn't want to hear it. He's been elected since before God was a teenager. And he just keeps coming back. He goes from the House to the Senate, to the Senate, to the House, and then the county commission or something, and then back. So now everybody knows who I'm talking about. And he'll just leave the room. I think the way people perceive this is changing. When you were sitting either as a representative or as a legislative aide, did anybody ever come and talk about pot at one of the meetings you sat at?
No.
Okay.
Which is an opportunity to educate. And when you're doing that, if you're there on behalf of the organization, I would recommend you keep it short and sweet. If you're going to make a point,
you may get 3 minutes, right?
You may get 3 minutes, but people's attention spans are going to be a little bit less than that.
Okay.
And so what I would suggest is perhaps a few talking points that you write a couple of things down so you know specifically what you're going to say. I want to address these 3 items or these 2 things, or, you know, if it's a particular thing. But have those in mind, practice it a couple of times in your mind, because it's always going to go faster than you think it is when you're standing up in front of that group.
My knees shake. I mean, like you could power a small village with the way I quake sometimes. And I've been doing this for 20 years and it doesn't, I still shake every time.
Yep.
Every time. I just get up and do it anyhow. So any voter is somebody who can come in. Is it better to say I'm a citizen, or better to say I'm a member of Florida Cannabis Action Network? Or
the best of all worlds, I would say I'm a registered voter who lives in your district, and I'm a member of Florida Can.
The oldest continuing marijuana organization in the state.
Well, your leave behind, whatever you leave behind for the members, and there should be some kind of a talk sheet that you leave on an 8.5 by 11, not a whole bunch of pictures, not a whole bunch of busy stuff, you know, just some basic information. That should also have that on there. But I would say you're a registered voter, because that's going to listen, everybody's going to listen to that. Florida Can, you mentioned that, and then you go into your short presentation.
So what about business owners? If they're a business owner, is this an appropriate place for a business owner to come in and talk about the impact?
Most definitely. If you're a business owner, I would suggest talking about the number of employees who are registered to vote, who work at your business. You know, invite the members of the delegation to, at some point, tour your facility. Hey, there may be a lot of questions that you might not know the answer to. By all means, my doors are open. Come on in. Let's meet the employees, you know, take a tour of the facility. get to know the people that are here, because some of these, some of these companies have a lot of people that are working for them.
Right. Right. And they're not medical marijuana treatment centers, all of them. Some
That's
of them
correct.
are making hemp businesses. They're doing different things in the hemp industry. There's an awful lot of so
Yep.
Florida
Soup
can
to
has,
nuts, CBD to everything else. Yep.
and we are too, we're adding it to everything. And if we want to continue to expand the business, we're going to have to be talking to lawmakers. Florida Can created a handout that we'll make sure is available on a link. I think it's busy and it has a lot of information and it's two-sided. But I'm always of the opinion that it's like, oh my God, I don't want to waste an inch. And they don't know all this stuff. Am I killing them with too much information?
I think you are. You got to remember, so when you're doing something like this, leave something behind, not just the members of the delegation, so not just the elected members. There's usually staff there, so we want to leave something to staff. We also want to maybe run off a few extra copies that we can leave for the audience, because there may be somebody there that goes, I don't know the first thing about that.
Right.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Maybe I should go check it out. And so, I would suggest you don't want to overwhelm those people. You don't, there's a lot of visual, there's a lot of information, but people, if they're interested, they can go to hit this link or go to this website or, that sort of thing. So I would suggest trying to keep it clean and simple. That way everybody can look at it. If they want more information, you have a telephone number, a name, a telephone number, an email address for them to contact you.
Well, and that's been the beautiful thing about Florida Cannabis Action Network and people who can use the Florida Can web address, use the Florida Can phone number. I cannot tell you over the decades how many pieces of information that I have gotten. And 2 weeks later, I go to pick up the phone and the number's not even in existence anymore. And, we are very proud of the fact that the Florida Can phone number, the 321-253-3673 number, has you have been able to get someone who could get you connected with who you needed since the early 1990s. So we're pretty proud of that.
And you make a very good point. If a member of the legislature asks you a question that you don't know the answer to, you say, I don't have that information, but I know who to contact, and I will get back with you on that information. So you're the valuable resource right there that goes, okay, I'm going to dial this telephone number tomorrow after the delegation meeting, and we're going to find out the information. And then you share that not only with that particular member that asked the question, but everybody else, the legislative members and the staff members that were there.
I've been disappointed over the years at how often we're guilty of not getting back to somebody. And I see it in every legislative session. Florida Can began using a debriefing system so that we could hold one another accountable. You would go out, you'll make meetings during the day, and you'll have every intention of doing X, Y, and Z. And then the next day we had A, B, and C, and pretty soon X never happened. We want to be really careful about that. That's another, I'm going to continue. I am Florida Cannabis Action Network. I'm going to continue to highlight, that's part of the reason that you want to work with an organization like this that's been doing it. So we're good with somebody going in and saying, I am affiliated with, if you are not a dues paying member, we'd rather you didn't say you were a member of Florida Cannabis Action Network. But it's okay if you're not a member of Florida Can and you are a member of another affiliation. We were, one of our guys is with the American Cannabis Nurses Association, and their priority is making sure that nurses are not getting employment drug screening as it relates to cannabis. They don't think that a nurse should be screened for it. That's just their priority. So we've talked a lot as Cannabis Action Network about employee workplace screening. So in your mind now, are we stronger if we're talking about the same 3 points in Santa Rosa as we're talking about in Miami-Dade? Or are we stronger if we're hitting this from all angles?
I would say statewide, stick with the same points.
That's scary.
You don't want to send conflicting messages. You know, if you're in Miami-Dade, you know, eventually, if it's a bill or an amendment or something, you don't want it coming back going, well, in Pensacola, they said, you know, this. Well, in Tampa, they said that. So you want to be consistent with your information. And I think for a legislative visit, you know, a delegation meeting or advocacy, everybody's on the same page.
Well, so let me ask you, you've been following this as an advisor to Florida Can and now and first as a lawmaker and certainly as an intelligent, concerned citizen. I don't know how we get this choir all singing the same tune, Dave. And I look at all of the things that are wrong with the medical marijuana program, and I wouldn't even know where to start with saying the top 3 things that we want are, because certainly employee protection is up there, but reciprocity is important to so much of our community that are, that are snowbirds or that come here. Criminal justice reform is extremely important, and expanding conditions and expanding the program. And
there are a lot of issues. You're right. What helps the program grow across the state of Florida? Not everybody can relate to the criminal justice issues. Not everybody, if you're in an urban area, you're not going to be able to relate to the, you know, the growing of hemp, you know. So there are some of those things, but there've got to be some statewide issues on allowing use, you know, conditional use of, you know, in different places, allowing workplace safeties. There've got to be some things like that that everybody can agree on. You know, you think about the workplace issues. Workplace issues are the same whether you're in Pensacola or Jacksonville or Tampa or Miami. Everybody faces the same workplace issues. So maybe that's one issue to approach. Does that make sense?
it does. It does indeed. Whether or not we have what we can do, I mean, to me, expand the program. But I always have people who say, you know, if we just pushed for full legalization, we wouldn't have to take bites out of it. So was there ever any issue in your experience watching the Florida legislature from the inside and on the outside that really went fast, that wasn't handled incrementally?
No, the system is not designed to do anything quickly. You know, if you're proposing an idea, it's going to take 3 years. The House is going to look at it one time, the Senate may look at it another time, and then year 3, people might go, okay, that's a decent idea. Let's try that, because it's been ingrained in them. You got to remember, it's a revolving set of chairs. You know, the Speaker right. and the Senate President have the ability to change your legislative committee assignments every year. So the experts aren't there. You know, if you're talking healthcare this year, next year, you may be talking literally to somebody else. Used to be that you at least had 2 years to get, you know, issues and understand them. Now, that's not so much the case. Every year, it's a revolving door. So you have to find your champions and make sure they have the information.
Well, one of the places that we find champions is at delegation meetings.
And
So
another one you might want to look at is employment opportunities, the economic development opportunities, if you will, of expanding, soup to nuts, where everything is, whether it's hemp, whether it's CBD, whether it's medical, all of these things. At some point, we need to do some economic analysis. We have X number of facilities, and those facilities employ X number of people. So the payroll is X, whether that's, how many CBD, and it's a very difficult thing to nail down, but you have, you can narrow down the number of medical facilities.
right.
Then you got retail on the side, you got your CBD stuff. Then you have some hemp growers and some people in the hemp stuff. When you soup to nuts, add that up, what's the economic impact of cannabis, the umbrella, in the state of Florida? How many billions of dollars? How much do they pay in payroll taxes? How many people do they employ? Those are some numbers that are applicable from Florida, from Pensacola all the way down to Miami, down to Key West, and that brings everybody's attention to it. You can't really talk about a specific legislative issue in that 3 minutes that you're given to present. So you're just introducing yourself, doing that little framework. Hey, I'm Dave and I'm from Pensacola, and here's what I think is important. And I hope to have the conversation continue from here. Come to my facility. Let's tour, let's talk, introduce yourself to other folks.
Well, and so many of our businesses spend a lot of money joining networking groups, and really one of the best places to network with people once we get back to face. And I see we're running up on time. Right now, some of the delegation meetings are still online. Some of the delegation meetings may be happening virtually. We're going to get out a list. And Dave, you had a recommendation on how to get the best information about your delegation meeting?
Yes. Whoever's watching this video, call their member of the Florida House or the Florida Senate. If you don't know who that is, call your supervisor of elections. Find out who the House member is, who the Senate member is in your area, in your specific area. Call that office and say, I would like to attend the legislative delegation meeting. Can you tell me when it is? They will probably also send you a form, because most of them you have to put in, my name is Dave Murzin and I live at, and my issue is. So there's probably a form out there that you could submit prior to. Don't show up at the last minute and expect them to hear you. You want to work within their rules so they know they got 50 speakers, they got 100 people, and they can accommodate their time.
It is worth noting that you may, if you just show up, you may very well be able to speak at the end, but it's going to be at the end. If you're nervous about speaking, it doesn't hurt to show up and pass out flyers. That's what I did my very first year. I didn't know anything. I didn't know it was happening like the next day. And I'm like, holy moly. So we put together a page out of Jack Harer's book and went to the delegation meeting and talked to the head of the Boys and Girls Club and the head of ARC and the head of, you mentioned, Salvation Army. All of those folks were there. So it's pretty exciting. We do have some folks who are watching today, and we're grateful for your information, Dave. I want to say thanks to everybody who took the time to be with us. And a special thanks to you, David. You've been so very important to my personal development. I am certainly a better advocate in Tallahassee because I've had an opportunity to be mentored by you. All right, I think that wraps it up for today. Thank you
Sounds
very
good.
much again, and we'll look forward to talking to you again. Thanks,
Sounds
Dave.
good.